Hello, all you big, beautiful brains out there. Today, we're going to talk about sports psychology. Before we get started, take a minute to subscribe to Psy vs. Psy. Help out your friendly neighborhood psychologist while I tell you all about sports psychology. This weekend, here in San Antonio, everybody was watching some of the best athletes of all time. I mean, it's more than just a show. It's a spectacle. Not only are the athletes incredible, but they put on a whole big expensive performance that's supposed to get everyone excited. People talk about it for weeks beforehand, and there are parties where we can all get together and celebrate just how awesome it is. That's right, this weekend it was the Olympics skeleton luge finals. So, I'll admit, I don't really know that much about sports, but sports psychology, that's different. Sports psychologists use psychological knowledge and skills to address optimal performance and well-being of athletes, developmental and social aspects of sports participation, and systemic issues associated with sports settings and organizations. That means they study big, important scientific areas, but in a really specific, focused way to help athletes. And that's all athletes. Sports psychologists work with people from all ages, from the youngest students to professionals who have been competing for their whole lives. That intense focus on athleticism is one of the things that makes specializing in sports psychology so intensive. To be able to be an expert on a topic like that, you really have to have some specific knowledge in a ton of different areas. For instance, think of a sport, whichever one happens to be your favorite. To be a sports psychologist, just in that one particular sport, you not only have to know everything about that sport historically, you have to know about its associated social impact within and outside the sport, the cultural conventions surrounding the sport, any kind of trauma-related information on the sport, like a history of athlete neglect. You'd also have to have an extensive knowledge on the biobehavioral components of the sport, so things like sports medicine and exercise science. You would have to be an expert in clinical issues and behavioral diagnostic testing of athletes specifically relating to that sport. So anything from OCD to depression to anxiety to personality disorders, which might be common among that population. And that's along with any other behaviors that might conflict with an athlete's right to play, like thrill-seeking behaviors or drug or alcohol abuse. And that's on top of knowing everyday social and behavioral factors that impact close team environments. No athlete does it all on their own. So you have to know about teamwork, leadership styles, motivational theories, and high-stress environments. Then add sports-specific psychological assessment, as well as techniques unique to sports psychology, so things like performance enhancement strategies. That is a massive amount of information for anyone to know, and sports psychologists train for years to be experts. One of the other things that makes sports psychology so challenging is the community that they serve. When most of us think of sports, we tend to think of professional athletes, these superhuman people who are always out there winning. To be fair, there are a substantial amount of sports psychologists who do work with people like that. But, as we all know from being human, you don't get to be that kind of athlete all on your own. Sports psychologists are often working with the whole support system of those athletes. So families, coaches, administrators, even officials. All those people in the background who care for, love, and support those athletes to get them to that position where they can be at the top of their game, mentally, emotionally, and physically. As a researcher, understanding and assessing this community support could be key to unlocking critical issues within the discipline. Serving this entire community becomes extremely important if you're working with client athletes. Their support community is integral to their success or failure on the field. Like the guy with the sponge in soccer. There's a guy with like a magic sponge, right? Ooh, or those guys in NASCAR who change the tires with those guns that go like... If you are really interested in this area, or possibly even considering working in the field, I highly recommend visiting Division 47 of the American Psychological Association. That division is called the Society for Sport, Exercise, and Performance Psychology. And really, its whole job is to promote and connect those psychologists who are working with athletes in either research, teaching, coaching, really any area that could be helpful to broadening the knowledge in this area. Did you know one of the first social psychology experiments was about sports psychology, looking at performance of bicycle racers all the way back in 1898? Check out our video on social facilitation for the full story. I'll put a card up here somewhere. If you want to know more about some of the topics sports psychologists are experts in, like personality or motivation, make sure you subscribe to Psy vs. Psy so you can get all of our other videos and you can learn all about the science of psychology. Until next time, keep thinking, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.
Hey, you know the Super Bowl was this weekend, right?
Skeleton luge.